So how do you connect with your fans?
Next with my fans. Um, really, I mean, what I always try to do is be good to try to, give everyone the, say hi to, let's see, that's a tough question. I mean, with fans, there's a lot of people that, they follow you on Twitter, they try and connect with you on social network and stuff, and really I just tried to do everything I could to interact with them, to serve them, to kind of show them that I'm just one of them. I really appreciated the people that kind of supported me throughout my career, people that, were always pushing for me to play and following the things that I did. So whenever I had the opportunity, I tried to just, interact with them, show them I appreciate them. And yeah, I think that was the most important thing. I was never one of the guys to not go out of my way to say hi to little kids, especially, and to other fans. So.
Who was your hero growing up?
Growing up, my sports hero was Tom Brady. My personal hero was my father. My father, my father didn't play sports, and so he was a great example of me to kind of. It was nice. He was a great example to me to kind of show how I should live my life, the man I should become, and kind of putting my priorities straight. But then Tom Brady, as an athlete, was always a hero of mine. I grew up in Michigan watching him play for the Wolverines. And, I mean, he wasn't the biggest, fastest, strongest. A lot of people doubted him. And then it's been amazing following his career and just kind of showing what he was capable of doing, even with all the doubters out there and people telling him he would never really achieve much as a quarterback.
What team did you grow up watching?
Well, college, Michigan Wolverines. I'm still a huge Michigan Wolverines fan. I've always liked them. And then, and because of Tom Brady, I've followed the New England Patriots since he's been in the NFL. Before that, I always loved watching the 49ers and Steve Young. Obviously, I'm from BYU. Steve Young went to BYU, and so I was always a big 49ers fan.
What was youth football like growing up?
I moved around a lot. So I started my football career in southern Texas, and I think I started when I was in 4th grade. It was a lot of fun. It was really kind of teaching me, about football. I really didn't. I put football off for a couple of years. I remember because I was scared of, playing such a physical sport, and then I fell in love with it after my first year. But it is all. What I remember most from youth football is just kind of learning the passion for the game and learning to really love it when you're young and when there's no politics, not as much politics behind it. You don't worry about all that stuff. You realize how fun the game really is.
Now, you grew up in St. George, Utah. You went to Pineview High School. Tell us about your time at Pineview playing football.
Playing football at Pineview High School is one of my most enjoyable football moments in my football career. I'm still best friends with my high school coach. I actually just got off the phone with him right before I was talking to you. He remains really close, and that was a time when you're absolutely closest with your teammates. I was playing football with my best friends. Went to school together all day. We played football together all day, and then we'd hang out all night. And it was just a really enjoyable experience. And football, on the football side of it, that's when I started being recruited. I never thought being recruited to play college football was an option in my life. I thought, only Superman and the coolest guys around and the best were capable of going to play college football. And so when I started getting recruited, when I was a sophomore in high school, it was a neat experience knowing that, and it kind of pushed me to work harder and play harder.
Now, what was your college recruitment like? You were recruited by Arizona, Arizona State, Oregon. A lot of Pac-12, currently Pac-12 teams, Pac-10 at the time. What made you choose BYU over Arizona and Arizona State?
Yeah, so, I started, the recruiting letters started piling in, and it was kind of overwhelming. It was fun, and at the same time, I enjoyed it. It really hit me that I had an opportunity to play, I guess at the time in the Pac-10, when I was out practicing one day, Coach Tedford from Cal shows up to my practice. It was in the spring, so we were having like a 7-on-7 day with our team, just a small little practice, and Coach Tedford showed up to watch. And that's when I kind of knew that, this is really cool. My dream of playing for a big college, someone in the Pac-10, might come true. And so I looked into Cal, I looked into Arizona State, and I looked into BYU. Those were the three I was really looking at. And what it came down to was BYU was the best fit for me because of, the life I live outside of football. First of all, my family have all gone to BYU. Being a Mormon, BYU is owned by the Mormon Church, and so, it kind of made me realize that as much as I love football, there's more to life than football, and BYU at that time, I felt like it would give me everything I wanted athletically, but also it would give me everything I wanted academically and spiritually, and so it kind of fit my personality, fit me as a person, and it gave me everything I really wanted in my life.
Before going to BYU, what high school game is your most memorable game?
I'd say my most memorable game was my first start as a quarterback my junior year. So I started as a sophomore at safety, and then moved to quarterback. And so my junior year, I started as a quarterback for my first game against Lehigh High School, and they were ranked, I think, top 5 in the state, and we were ranked in top 5 in the state. And I knew I was a pretty good football player, but I had never, gone out and played quarterback in a game yet. So I was anxious to see what I was capable of doing. And I went out and threw, I think it was 4 touchdowns, threw for over 300 yards, and threw for like 75% completion percentage. And that's when, I kind of knew that, we had a good football team, and that this is going to be a long, good career as long as I stay healthy and keep working. So that was my most memorable high school football game.
Now, jumping into BYU, was adapting to the playbook in the beginning parts really hard to you, or were you just able to get in there and start clicking with the playbook?
So the playbook, it clicked pretty fast. We had a decently complex playbook when I was in high school, and BYU's was actually pretty simplified in comparison to other colleges. And so the playbook I got down pretty quick. I understood the routes, I understood the plays, I understood my footwork. But what really took me a lot of time was understanding defense and coverages. And when I was in high school, I knew the basics, but I was out there just, being an athlete, playing ball and having fun. But when I got to college, I realized there's a lot more mental aspects of the game than I anticipated. And so I had to really learn how to recognize the coverage pre-snap, to recognize it post-snap, and to really know what was going on on the football field at all times.
What was your first spring game like?
My first spring game, I actually didn't play in a spring game. My first spring game came my redshirt sophomore year. So I played 2 seasons. I redshirted 1 year and then played a season, and then went on a LDS church mission. And then my first spring game was when I got back in 2010. And I remember the whole week up to that, it was nice and sunny outside. And then, I'm trying to think if this was the right one. Yeah. And then it was just snowing like crazy for the spring game. So it was miserable and cold. And so I remember that experience of it being freezing and being a, difficult game to throw the ball. No one was really throwing the ball really well because it was wet, cold, and snowy, but it was memorable because we split the teams up and played a real game, and it was a lot of fun.
Now, as a member of BYU, you go up against the toughest competition in around the nation. What team did you face off against really tested your limits and really took you to the limits?
Let's see. So I guess in 2010, I wasn't the starting quarterback at the time, but as a team, we stepped on the field and played at Texas. And playing at Texas can be extremely intimidating for a lot of football players, especially coming, outside of the Big 12. And, we'd recently been in the Mountain West, which was not considered, that big of a conference. There's football teams there. It was, it could have been intimidating going to Texas, but we stepped on the football field and really we jumped out to a quick lead and really in the first half beat up on them and kind of gave us the confidence, that we're doing this to Texas, who's one of the best known teams in the country, with great traditions and history, and we're playing with them. And so we ended up actually losing that game by I think 3 points, 3 or 4 points. But it was that really tested our limits and taught us that we're capable of playing with these teams. And I think we actually should have won that game, and it kind of made us realize that there's no point in being scared or intimidated by anyone we go up against. So that was a good learning experience and really tested us as a football team.
What college game is your defining moment of your college career?
Well, if anyone understands my story, I've been fighting for the starting job for a long time, and I was always, within a quarterback controversy where some people thought I should play, others thought a different person should play, and for most of the time it was always me not playing. And so my last game, the last regular season game of my career was my first start to play the entire game, and that defined my career. I went out against New Mexico State and it went down in BYU history as the greatest start ever by a BYU quarterback. I think I threw for 6 touchdowns and about 380 yards. So that really although I wish I had played a lot more games than that, it came out to be, kind of some closure for me and closure for the people that stood by me and fans that stood by me through all the controversy and hard times, saying that, I was capable of playing football. I was capable of being the starting quarterback at BYU, and although it didn't work out for a long period of time, it kind of gave me, a feeling of assurance that, I wasn't wrong about myself, that I had the right to be confident in my abilities.
Did you ever consider transferring from BYU to go to play for another college?
I actually did quite a few times. 2010, 2011, well, especially through the 2010 and after 2010 season, I considered transferring because, I felt that there are other schools that would give me an opportunity to be a starting quarterback, and it just wasn't working out at that time at BYU. We had a young quarterback that came in. We had a guy who was just a year older than me. And so I was looking at my situation. It didn't look very promising. And so I looked into, started researching other schools, looking into other schools, looking into some D2 schools. And then as I was about to start, pursuing that, it just felt wrong. And so I realized I needed to stay at BYU. That there's more to BYU than just football for me. And so I ended up staying, but it ended up being a good ending to my career here.
Now, you're out of football right now. What are your plans now that you're out of college?
So yeah, I just graduated from college last week. I had a couple classes finished. I'm working full-time now with a startup software company in Salt Lake City that's starting to take off, called Salt Stack. And, a lot of people ask me how I deal with the transition of going from full-time football to a full-time desk job. And I realized, it's actually really easy if you find a job you love. I've worked with a group of guys. I found a place that I love. I work with a group of guys that I really get along with. And, I didn't just go to I felt that what would be best for me for the transition from football to the workplace would be finding a place where I can continue to be competitive, because that's what I thrive off of. And so I went into a startup company where we're scrappy, we're fighting and trying to, pull things off just like we did at BYU, trying to outdo our opponents and upset people.
Now, would you ever consider working your way to the NFL, going through the Arena League, the CFL? Would you ever consider, reviving your career as a football player?
I thought about it for a while. So at the end of my season in December, I had to kind of get together with the people closest to me, my family, and I got together with my high school football coach, who had been doing a lot of, who had trained me a lot in the off seasons, and we talked about what I'd possibly do, and I realized that it's just, I wanted to. It was my dream to play in the NFL, but at the same time, just I was ready to move on as well, and so I decided to not go train for the NFL, to move on. I got a call from the Arena Football League and the Utah Blaze to come play for them, but I which was tempting because I love playing football. But I realized if I'm not going for the NFL, I'm not going to go for the Arena Football League. So I moved on and plan on staying like that.
Would you ever consider coaching for a football team?
I definitely will one day. My goal is to right now work. I have a business degree, and that's also a dream of mine, is to be successful in that area of my life as well. And so once I accomplish a lot of my goals in that, I plan to start. I want to coach high school football, and I don't ever want to coach at the college level. I saw a lot of the politics and things, but I definitely want to coach at the high school level one day, and that's one of my plans.
Now, what advice can you give to high school quarterbacks wanting to play college football?
I guess the advice I would give them is to, first of all, not enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy playing high school football because it's one of the best experiences of your life. But also, if you want to be a great quarterback, it takes a lot of work. Especially today, the best quarterbacks coming out of high school are ones that have been training for it for years. And so I would say, if you want to be a great quarterback, you got to work for it. You got to train like crazy. You got to, give up the sometimes the nights out with friends and girls or whatever it is you're doing, and put some of that time into football if that's your dream.
Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
A shout out. Since we're talking about football, the one guy who has always been, he's probably the biggest impact on my life with football, is my high school football coach, Ray Hosner. It's Hosner. And he got me recruited. He spent hours getting me recruited, going to camps, talking to coaches, and then not only that, he trained me in the off seasons in college to get me ready to play. And so if I owe anything to anyone for football, it's him.
James, thank you so much for your time, man. I really do appreciate this.
No problem, man. I'm happy I could help. Let me know if you need anything else.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.
Okay.